Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Aviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. We are going to see 11th page and second paragraph. Vakya Yukti Anubhavanam Katha Praveshana Kramaha. There is an order if the Shastram is called Shastra, Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava. These three things have to be kept in view by every Jignasu. Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava. Shruti means the Vakyam. Yukti means the logic. Anubhava means the experience that he is there. What do you experience? You only experience, or you don't experience. The universe is an object of experience and you are the subject of experience. Except the subject and object, there is nothing else is an experience. And therefore, Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava, they enter the order, the Katha, Vedanta argument. These three have to enter the argument. Shruti, you can quote the Shruti, you can use the logic, you can also refer to Anubhava, but you cannot talk about heaven, etc. You can't talk about elsewhere. What you don't, it is neither an object of an experience, it is neither nor a subject. If you talk about heaven, it is not experienced. It is not, and therefore you can't use heaven. That is all in Karma Kanda. And therefore here, tada tatra yada katha praveshana krama means the order of their entry. The order of their entry. Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava have to enter the argument. And the argument has to, these three have to enter. Then there is an order. Tatra yada shastra pramanya vishaye eva vipratipatirasti tada spashtameva yadastikenapi vadina vipratipannam prati yuktaya eva upanyasitavyaha vakinirapekshmiti upanyasitavya vakinirapekshmiti. If the Shastra Pramanyam is the topic, if the Shastra Pramanyam is the topic, you can't quote the Shastra. You have to you have to use only the logic. Only the logic can prove Shastra Pramanyam. Anything that is if the seeker is the sought, then the Shastra is the Pramanyam. But the Anubhav Vakyam, Apta Vakyam is the Pramanam. That the what? What you are seeking, the what? This Apta Vakyam is the Pramanam. That Apta Vakyam alone is what is called Shastram. And therefore Shastram is the Pramanam. For that you have to use the logic. What is the logic? Yatha Akashasya Vastutva Siddhi Sutra Bhashya Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha. Atma se Akash आया है, is created. इत्यादि श्रुतिभ्यः आकाशस्य वस्तुत्व प्रसिद्धि इत्युक्त्वा विप्रतिपन्नान् प्रति तु शब्दगुणानुमेयत्वं वक्तव्यम् इत्युक्तिः. Up to this we have seen. Meaning, tasmad vaya tasmad atmanah akasha sambhutah. From that Atma, from that Brahma, which is this Atma, from this Atma came the space. That means the Upadanam for the space is yourself, Atma. Atma means the consciousness is the Upadanam for this space. This has been said. And then iti uktva. If it is not, it can't be an object. It is physical. You can't say it is nothing, it is shunyam, you can't say. It is there, it accommodates the universe. What accommodates the universe cannot be nothing, cannot be shunyam. And therefore, Shastram is a pramana. Tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. That akasha is indeed, akasha is born of Atma. Ityuktva vipratipannan prati. Vipratipannan means those who have misunderstandings, those who argue. Shabda gunanumeyatvam vaktavyam. What is akasha? Shabda gunanumeyatvam. It is something. Shabda guna is qualifying. It is qualifying the akasha. Akasha is a noun, and every created thing is a noun with adjectives. And therefore, what are the adjectives of the akasha? Shabda gunanumeyatvam. Shabda guna is the adjective of the akasha. This has to be inferred. And therefore, tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. This is the shastram, is the pramana vakyam. Tasmadva is the pramana vakyam. When that pramanyam is in doubt, even if he is an astika, a shastrajna, he has to be told that only by logic you have to explain Shastra is a pramana. When the seeker is the sought, at that time, then Aptavakyam alone is pramanam. Aptavakyam alone is pramanam. And that Aptavakyam is pramanam has to be explained. That forms a part of logic. That forms a part of logic. And therefore, Aptavakyam, and the whole entire Shastram is the Aptavakyam alone. Ishvara is the Apta Purusha. Ishvara is the Apta Purusha for the universe. Just as Parameshwara is the creator of the universe, he is the creator of the Shastram. And therefore, Parameshwara's the entire Shastram is indeed Apta Vakyam. That it is only one Vakyam. That the what? That what you are seeking is thyself. Iti yukti. Yatra tu गृहीत्वा शास्त्र प्रामाण्यम तात्पर्य मात्रे विवादः. When a person says, I know that Shastra is a pramanam, but I have got doubts about tatparyam, the topic of tatparata is called tatparyam. Tatparata means what is the final topic of Atma, what is the final topic of Shastram. In this manner, one has doubts. And in order to clear the doubts, what should you do? Tat pradarsha tatra pradarsha lingadini, having shown the lingadis, the shadlingas have to be told to him. You don't, your subjectivity doesn't decide what is the topic. The shadlingas topic, shadlingas provide the answer to this question as to what is the final topic of the Shastra. What are the Shadlingas? Upakarama, Upasamhara. Upakarama, Upasamhara, how it begins and how it ends. And that both form the one Shadlinga. Then Upapattihi, logic. Then Arthavadaha, and then Arthavada means Prashamsa and Ninda. And Arthavada, Upapattihi, Arthavada, and also what is it called? Prayojanam. Prayojanam is what is indeed, what is the Prayojanam of Vedanta, and also what is something what was not given before, what was not mentioned, that is Apaurushaya. That is something that is गृहीत्वा तत्पारिमात्र विवादः तत् प्रदर्श्य षड्लिंगादीनि उपक्रम उपसंहारादीनि च वाक्यवित् the one who understands the vakya samayam anurudhya, in keeping in view the respect for time. So samayam anurudhya tatparyam nirnetavyam bhavati. he has to determine the Tatparyam without wasting time. Without wasting time, he should determine the time. He should determine the Tatparyam. Tatparya means the final topic of what is Shastra. The final topic of the Shastra has to be determined with respect to time, without wasting time. अयमेव प्रकारः पूर्वमीमांसायां स्वीकृतैः वृद्धैः. This is the method in which in Purvamimamsa it was followed. This is the Svikritah Vruddhaihi. The elderly people, the great elderly people followed this method, and therefore Svikritah, it was accepted. Purvamimamsayam. In Purvamimamsa also, ayameva prakara. This is the method that was followed by elderly people, Vruddhaihi. Yatra punaha shastra tatparyameva na parantu param kintu अनुभवः अपि अनुसर्तव्यो भवति. यथा आत्मतत्त्व जिज्ञासायां तत्र शास्त्रोपन्यासतः पूर्वम् आश्रयणमेव अभ्यर्हितम्. अनुभव अवसानत्वात् जिज्ञासायाः. This yatra punah, where anubhava has to be, anubhava is in doubt. Anubhava is not something that is in the paroksham. It has to be aparoksham. The only thing that is unnegatably in experience is only, this is something, the anubhava vishayam is negatably in experience. In anubhava vishayam, like the scientists do, you talk about you inquire into the objects, you inquire into the laws. The laws are all inferred, and the objects are all inferred. The objects are all seen. They're all anubhava vishayas. Whereas you are unnegatably anubhava swarupam. You are anubhava swarupam. The one who experiences is called anubhava swarupam. What is experienced is anubhava vishayam. And therefore the universe is akasha, vayu, agni, apa, prithvi, sharira, thoughts. They're all, anything that can be objectified is anubhava vishayam. The one who experiences is indeed of the something unnegatable, and therefore your existence is unnegatable. Anubhava swarupa is unnegatable. Shastra, this is the yatra punaha shastra tatparyameva na param. Kintu, it not only shastra tatparyam is in doubt, but also kintu anubhavapi. Anubhava means even the experience. What kind of experience we should have? Anusartavya bhavati. You have to track the anubhava also. You have to follow the anubhava also. Yatha atmasattva jignasayam tatra. Yatha atmasattva jignasayam. In atma tattva jignasayam tatra shastropanyasah purvam anubhava ashrayanameva abhyarhitam. In the beginning, you have to quote a shastra. Shastra has to be quoted referring to the experience, and that experience is something that is, because when you come to know the truth, it is always in the form of anubhava. It is what is in anubhava that has to be understood. That is what is called jnanam. Therefore, yatha atmasudha jignasayam tatra shastra upanyasatah purvam anubhava ashrayanameva abhyarhitam anubhava avasanatva jignasayah. Jignasa, when you do the jignasa, it has to be culminate in anubhava of atma, in understanding the anubhava of atma. Even in the beginning, it has to be in the anubhava. Like in sushupti, it is your anubhava. Sushupti is your anubhava. Anubhuyamanatvat, Shankaracharya says. It is already within experience. Moksha is already within experience. And therefore Purna Atma is already within experience. And therefore, in Sushupti, the Advaitam is already within experience. There is no Dvaitam. Everybody understands that in Sushupti there is no Dvaitam. And therefore, The Advaitam is the experience. Advaitam is your own experience. And you are there in Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti, in all the three states, you are not negatable. The Anubhava is not negated. You know the negation of the Jagrat. You know the negation of the Swapna. You know the negation of the Sushupti. But you don't know the negation of Anubhava. The experience that they are negated cannot be negated. The Anubhava that can be, that knows. The Anubhava that knows. The negation of the Anubhava Vishaya cannot be negated. And therefore here it is said, Tatra Shastra Upanyasataha Purva Anubhava Ashrayanameva Abhyaryetam. Anubhava Avasanatva Jigyasa. Jigyasa has to culminate in Anubhava. Anubhava means not in experiencing the object. That is not. In understanding what is within experience. Because before that, Jigyasa culminates even though in experience, but before the Jigyasa culminates, you have to quote the Shruti and referring to the Anubhava that is present. That is unnegatable Anubhava. Anubhava Avasanatva. Anubhava Avasanatva. Anubhava Avasanatva Jigyasaya means Jigyasa culminates in appreciating that it is already within Anubhava. Jigyasaya. It is not experiencing the unexperienced. It is understanding the experienced. What is experienced? It is yourself. It is your existence. And this is very important. यथा हि शास्त्रैक समधिगम अस्तित्वे स्वर्गादौ तदापरोक्षाय. When it comes to the Purva Bhaga, in this body, whatever you experience, that is the Atma alone. Whatever you are experiencing about yourself, that is Atma alone. You don't experience the heaven, etc. in Purva Bhaga. In Purva Karma Kanda, whatever is said is not experienced now. And therefore Anubhava is not a pramana. Shastraika samadhigamyam astitve. In the matter of the Swarga being present or the Phalam being present, and the only pramanam is Shastra Ekagamya. Shastra Ekagamya means it is available only through the Shastra. It is not Anubhava Siddham. It is available only through the pramanam. Only through the pramana grandha Swargado. Tad aparokshaya etat janma prayukta sharire. In this body na jayamana. It is not jayamana. Anubhava sakshan na upayujyate. It is not useful. The jayamana, in this body, whatever you experience, you are the subject, and whatever you experience in this body, that experience is not pramanam in the matter of the swarga that you might have experienced before. It is not in experience, it is not anubhava vishayam, it is not anubhava swarupam. And therefore it is not in, if it is anubhava vishayam also, you can imagine heaven, but it is anubhava vishayam. It is subjective, but it is not anubhava vishayam, and therefore it is not anubhava swarupam. It is neither objectively negatable anubhava vishayam nor unnegatable anubhava swarupam. And therefore sakshanna upayujyate, it is not useful. तथा जीवतः स्वात्मज्ञाने स्वात्मज्ञानेपि स्वानुभवः न उपयुज्यते इति अशक्यं वक्तुम्. But in the case of the Atma, it is not so. When it comes to the karma kanda, when it comes to the heaven, etc., by experience, by talking about the anubhava is not the pramanam. You don't experience it. They are neither anubhava vishayam nor anubhava swarupam. Only shastram is the pramanam. But it is not in the same manner. Atma cannot be shastraika gamyam. Shastraika gamyam means it is not something that can be, that is talked about the shastram. That is shastra may be pramanam. Shastra cannot be. It is not something that is not independent of anubhava, and therefore iti ashakyam vaktum. इति स्वात्मज्ञानेपि स्व अनुभवः न उपयुज्यते इति अशक्यं वक्तुम् Ati prasangat. Ati prasangat means, prasanga means the context of being left, and you are talking something, and then suddenly you talk something else. And therefore that is what is called ati prasanga. That is called some ati prasanga. Prasanga means the context. Leaving the context is called ati prasanga. Leaving the context is what is called ati prasanga. And therefore, in Purva Bhaga, when the heaven is the heaven, when it comes to the heaven, the only it is available only through the Shastram. But when it comes to the Atma, it is available only through the Anubhava. It is experienced. It is experienced as oneself. It is not an object of experience. It is the subject of experience, and therefore, it is iti vaktum ati prasangat. If you say that the same is it is not possible to say that it is not Shastraika Gamyam. It is not Shastraika Gamyam. Atma is not Shastraika Gamyam. Atma is Gamyam. Gamyam means it's available through Shastra and Yukti and Anubhaval also. Whereas heaven is available only, it is only mentioned by the Shruti. It is only mentioned by the Purva, but it is not true. There is no Anubhava. Atma Jignasa is Anubhava. You only talk about the Anubhava. Anubhava has very, very important. When it comes to the heaven, it is not Anubhava Vishayam, it is only Shastraika Gamyam. Shastraika Gamyam means Shastra se bataya gaya hai. Purva Bhagena, Purva Karma Kandena, Karma Kandaika Gamyam. Karma Kandaika Gamyam. It is something that can be achieved, that can be known through only Karma Kanda. It is not knowable through Yukti. It is not knowable through Anubhava, etc. In that manner, it is said. But you can't say the same thing about the Atma. Atma is something that is available through Vedanta. It is available through Yukti. It is available through Anubhava also. It is already within experience. But the heaven is not within experience. Ati prasangada. Tasmad anubhavartatvat. When a person does inquiry, he always thinks in terms of experience. He always wants to experience the truth. He always wants to understand the truth that is within experience. Even though he says, I want to experience the truth, this is what people say, I want to experience the truth. But you can't experience the unexperienced. You always experience, you always understand what is within experience. This is not what is understood by the students. This is students always say, I want to experience the truth, I want to experience the truth. Which truth do you want to experience? That is already within experience or not within experience? If it is not within experience, then you can never experience the truth. If it is already within the experience, then you don't have to experience, you have to understand it. If it is not within experience, you can never experience it. What is not within experience, it is not Anubhav Vishayam, it is not Anubhav Swarupam, then you cannot experience it. If it is already within experience, then you don't have to experience second time. You have to understand what is within experience. You have to understand what is within experience. And therefore, Anubhava Vedanta Vicharasa. Vedanta Vichara is meant for only Anubhava, for understanding the Anubhava. Na kinchidapi vachanam matra. Just because Shastra says so, it need not be right. It need not be vachana matra. Because it is Shastram, vachana matrat, because it is Shastra Vakya, balat, by the strength of the Shastra, anubhava viruddham, swikaryam. What is not within Anubhava cannot come into within Anubhava, cannot come into within Anubhava, cannot come into within Anubhava, by just because it is said by the Shastra. Shastram vachanam, vachanam, vachanamatra deva, vachanamatra baladeva, वचनमात्र बलादेव बलाद अनुभव विरुद्धं स्वीकार्यं न स्वीकार्यम् इति should not be accepted as a right as अनुभव सिद्धं अतएव हि भाष्यकारैः प्रस्थानत्रयेपि वचनं ज्ञापकं न कारकं वचनम is only Vedanta is only it only conveys the truth. It doesn't create the truth. It doesn't create anything. It doesn't create the truth. It's not karakam. करने वाला नहीं है, जनाने वाला है. ज्ञापकम ना वचनम ज्ञापकम. Shastram is only ज्ञापकम. Vachanam means shastram, shastra vachanam, shastra vakyam is ज्ञापकम. It is only it is janati hai, na karati hai. And therefore iti न्यायम अवष्टभ्य इस न्याय को मन में रख के वचनम अनुभव विरुद्धमपि अर्थम प्रत्यायतु न अलमिति प्रतिपादितम. He has conveyed that even the vachanam, what is not within experience cannot be created, even just because it is a vachanam, just because it is shastram. Shastram also cannot create. Shastram also cannot create what is not within anubhava. What is not tattva, atattva cannot be created by, it cannot create. Vachanam is only jnapakam natu karakam. It only conveys the truth. It can't create the truth. It is not meant to create anything. And therefore it is meant to convey the truth. And therefore, na pratyayatum alam, nalam. Nalam means it's not possible, it's not capable of. Pratipadita means it's established. It is established that even Shastra Vakyam is not, if it is not there, then you can't think of it. If it is not within your Anubhava, you can't think of it. If it is within Anubhava, then you can think of it. Nalamiti Pratipaditam. Vadeja Tasmat Anubhava Viruddha eva Yuktaya api Upanyasniyaha. And therefore, what should you do? You should always marshal arguments which are non-opposed to experience, which are unopposed to experience. Anubhava अविरुद्धमपि अर्थं प्रत्यायतुं नालमिति. तस्मात् अनुभव अविरुद्धाः एव युक्तयः उपन्यासनीयाः. उपन्यासनीयाः within experience. Therefore, you have to quote only the Vakya. The logics also have to be, the reasonings have to be mentioned, which are not opposed to experience. Yuktayaha upanyasaniyaha. The yuktis have to be referred to. उपन्यासनीय तस्माद अनुभव अविरुद्ध अनुभव के बाद अविरुद्ध अनुभव के साथ अविरुद्ध अविरुद्ध अनुभव अविरुद्ध एवं युक्तयः अपि उपन्यासनीयाः. अनुभव अविरुद्धाः means they are not opposed to any anubhava, and therefore यदा तु तर्क उपोद्बलनाय वयं वाक्यम् उपन्यस्यते. When the vakya is given tapod tarka upodbalanaya, tarka in order to enhance the force of, in order to increase the force of the tapas, the yukti and the yukti tarka, in order to enhance the yukti, the force of the yukti, you use the sentence, you use the vakyam. वाक्यम उपन्यस्यते उपसर्जनत्वेन वा तर्कः. When you say, when you enhance the force of enhance means increase the force of tarka through vakyam, or increase the force of the vakyam through tarka. At that time, when you enhance it, तथा at that time what should you do? Tarkaha tada vak prativadana. Then the opponent has to, they can be refuted. Prabalatar vakya naiva. When the Vakya is negated, Pravartar Vakya. When the Vakya is quoted, in order to enhance the force of the Yukti, then you have to can only refute it through Prabalatar Vakya. Prabalatar Vakya means a stronger Vakya. A stronger Vakya. This is all in the introduction. He is telling that how you should argue. Later on, the arguments is going to be there when the topic begins. But before that, the rules of argument. Those rules are being explained. Those rules are when you quote, when the Siddhanti quotes the Shruti to enhance the logic force, or he uses the logic to enhance the force of the Vakya, then he has to only quote a Prabalatar Vakya. He has to use Prabalatar Vakya and Prabalatar logic to refute them. Just as युक्ति अनुभवाभ्यामेव शंकितबाधकाभ्यां प्रत्युत्तरायितव्यम्. They have to be answered. The yukti has to be refuted by yukti only. Anubhava has to be refuted by anubhava. If anubhava cannot be refuted by yukti, anubhava has to be refuted by anubhava. Yukti has to be refuted by yukti. And therefore this has to be. And similarly, the vakyam, the shastra vakyam can be refuted by Prabalatar vakyam. Vakyam can be refuted by Prabalatar vakyam. Prabalatar vakyam means has refuted by Anubhava. This manner it is said. These are all the rules and regulations that an arguer has to follow. These rules will be followed later on. But right now, Pratyuttarayita has to be answered. यथा पूज्यपादैः शारीरिकभाष्ये पूर्वस्मिन् ग्रन्थे वाक्याश्रयणेन सांख्यादि दर्शनं निराकृत्य. In the introduction to the second pada of Brahma Sutras, Shankaracharya says that he salutes his Mahabhashkara. He salutes Mahabhashkara, and then Kapila, etc., Kashika, etc. Mahabhashkara, द्वितीय अध्याय द्वितीय पाद अवतार घटके अभिहितम्, and he has Sankhya Darshanam Nirakritya. He refutes the Sankhya Darshanam, and he says in the introduction, what does he say? Sankhya Swapaksha Sthapanaya. In order to establish their own law, their own school, their own thinking, Vedanta Vakyani Upapi Udahritya, they quote the Vedanta Vakyas and they interpret them according to their own topic. And therefore, Swapaksha Anugunyana Yojetavyo Vachakshate. They comment upon the Vedanta Vakyas as per their topic. Tesham, therefore, यद व्याख्यानों उनका जो व्याख्यान है तद व्याख्यान आभासों. It only looks to be a commentary, but it's not commentary. It's not commentary upon Vedanta. Sankhya's Vyakhyanam is not Vyakhyanam. It is only Vyakhyan Abhasam. Abhasam means it appears to be, it is only in appearance it is Vyakhyanam. Otherwise it is not a real Vyakhyanam. Na Samyak Vyakhyanam. It is not the real Vyakhyanam. Ityetavat Purvam Krutam. I have conveyed before that the Sankhya Vyakhyanam of the Vedanta is not Vyakhyanam. But now I am going to refute their logic. In this manner, he uses the words. Yatun Vakya Swatantraha. Vakya means independent of the Vakya. Swatantraha, independent. Tarkaha. Tad Yukti Pratishedaha. तद् स्वतन्त्रः इंडिपेंडेंटली तर्कप्रतिषेधः, तद् युक्तिप्रतिषेधः, तद् मीन्स तेषां तेषां युक्तिप्रतिषेधः। उनका उनका जो युक्ति प्रतिषेध, व्हाट इज द युक्ति दैट इज यूज्ड बाय द सांख्यास, दैट युक्ति का प्रतिषेध होता है। प्रतिषेधः क्रियते इति विशेषः, दिस इज द डिफरेंस। इदमत्र बोद्धव्यं भवति। इद दिस इज व्हाट हैज टू बी केप्ट इन व्यू। यदि यदि युक्ति अनुभवे, यदि यद युक्ति अनुभवे, युक्ति अनुदये, अनुदये, when the logic doesn't strike you, then you go after the vakya. Anudaya, when the logic doesn't strike you, then you go after the vakya. And then vakya pratibhane, when the vakya is found, yukti pradarshanam cha. Vakya pratibhane, when the vakya is found, then the yukti pradarshanam cha. Yukti pradarshanam cha. Showing the yukti प्रदर्शनम च इत्येतत् प्रयत्नतः this particular effort has to be pariharaniyam. This has to be renounced. Meaning what? The praman yukti, when the yukti anuday, when the yukti is not found, then you go after the praman vakya. When the vakyam is found, then you don't go after the yukti. You leave the vyakti. You leave the yukti. That's not to be accepted. That has to be, yukti has to be refuted by the yukti. Anubhava, shruti has to be refuted by the shruti vakya. Anubhava has to be refuted by the anubhava alone. And therefore, it should not be done. This has to be left with effort. यदा हि प्रमाणवाक्य उपन्यासनम, when the pramanavakya is upanyasanam means when pramanavakya is quoted, tad anatashankiniyatvam, and that pramanyam has to be, the pramanyam of the pramanavakya should not be doubted. Pramanasya abhipagamya tat kriyate. Pramanasya abhipagamya, pramanasya pramanyam abhipagamya tat kriyate. तच्च प्रमाण को प्रामाण्य को without doubting the pramanyata, pramanyam of the pramana vakya, you should do that. You should renounce the vakya. You should renounce the yukti. When the yukti is not found, then you run after the vakya. When the vakya is found, then alone, then you found the, if vakya is found, then you also use the logic. This kind of thing has to be renounced with effort. You should always renounce with effort without losing the pramanya buddhi of the Vedanta. Even though you renounce the vakyam, but you should not renounce the pramanyam of the pramana vakya. Tat kriyate. Tacha prabala vakyanaiva shakya nirasanam. You have, that can be renounced, or that can be disproved only by prabalatar vakya. You have to shruti vakyam has to be disproved only by this prabalatar vakyam. Shruti vakyam has to be disproved by the shruti vakyam. You should refer to, if I quote a shruti vakyam, you should also, the opponent also has to quote a prabalatar vakyam, and he has to disprove me. If we can't, it does not mean, if he doesn't find a prabalatar vakyam, then he goes after the logic. ऐसा नहीं है. If he uses the shruti alone has to be used. Shruti has to be refuted by the shruti vakya. The vakya has to be refuted by the vakya alone. Yukti matra upanyas kale, even the tacha prabalatar vakya naiva shakya nirasanam. Yukti matra upanyas kale, when the yukti is being talked about, vakyopa darshanam na samanjasam. when the yukti, when we are talking about only the logic, logic has to be disproved by logic. If you use logic, I can also use logic. If you use Shastra Vakyam, I can also use Shastra Vakyam. If you use the Anubhava, I can also use the Anubhava. This is how it should be argued. It should not be argued. There should be no confusion in the argument. If because of the confusion in the argument, because of the confusion in the argument, you don't enjoy the argument with the foolish people. Vakya Shatamapi, even if it is Vakya Shatamapi, युक्ति मात्र उपन्यास काले तो वाक्य उपन्यास न समंजसम नहीं वाक्य शतमपि वाक्यमिति इत्येतावता इत्येतावता मीन्स इतने मात्र से वाक्यमिति इत्येतावता just because it is वाक्यम, just because it is शास्त्र वाक्यम, युक्ति विरुद्ध अविद्यमानं वस्तु विद्यमानं कर्तुम् उत्साहते इति. It dare not make the non-existent existent. Even if it is Shastra Vakyam, it cannot make the non-existent existent. It cannot be illogical also. What is logic? You may disprove the logic by logic. You may disprove the Shastra Vakyam by Shastra Vakyam. You may disprove the Anubhava to Anubhava, but you can't disprove logic by Shruti Vakyam. You can't use Shruti Vakyam. You can't disprove Shruti Vakyam through logic. You can't disprove Anubhava through Shruti Vakya, etc. There should be no confusion. And therefore, the Yukti, Shruti Yukti, Anubhava has to, just because it is Shastra Vakyam, it cannot make the non-existent existent. It cannot be illogical. If it is illogical, it can't afford to be illogical. It may be Shruti, but what is said by the Shruti can't afford to be illogical. And if it is illogical, then definitely it is wrong. If it is illogical, it is wrong. And this has to be sure. And what is non-existent is non-existent. What is existent is existent. Just as the objects are existent, and that is called what is called objectivity. Objectivity means you only think about what is and what is not, and therefore what is not, what is and what is not, and that what is not cannot be made existent, even if it is said by the Vedanta. Even if it is said by Vedanta, वो जो है जो नहीं है वो नहीं है. What is not there cannot be made existent just because it is said by Vedanta. And therefore what is there alone is. And that isness is only experienced by you as yourself. What is unnegatably is only is. What is unnegatably is alone is. What is negatably is cannot be considered as is. What is unnegatably is only yourself. What is unnegatably is only yourself. Because that you can see the Jagrati is all your experience, Swapna is your experience, Sushupti is your experience, and therefore the experiencer has no negation. The object of experience has negation, but that the objects of experience are negatable. That experience cannot be negated. That experience cannot be, and therefore what is available is as is only yourself, and therefore you are the only one. You are the only conscious being, and conscious being is the only one that is available, that is existent, and that existent you is the topic, is the tatparyam of the whole Shastra. Atma is the tatparyam of the whole Shastra, and the rest of it we'll see in the next class. Thank you very much. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much, Ji. Today